In today's video, I'd like to share a setup that I'm monitoring as we head into 2022. It's a setup inside of Zoom, and I'll break it down in a little bit more detail in this video. Now, the overall idea stems from the fact that for much of 2021, during the peak of COVID, Zoom was one of those stocks that thrived. It's no surprise if you're trading in 2020, it was just a noteworthy stock that either you were in or were not in. Now, 2021, that trend reversed. We can see here for much of 2021, Zoom was actually in a bearish trend. And as this setup continues into 2022 and COVID really strikes back in, I'm looking to try and see if Zoom can start to gather a little bit of a base here and have another trend switch. What does a trend switch look like, you may ask? Well, that's where our market pulse line right here, that's our substitute for moving averages. It's just a variable moving average, but it makes it easy with these green and red colors letting you know what the trend is. So whenever this market pulse line goes from red to green, you can see an example of that right here. We had a red market pulse, and then finally we have that market pulse transition. As soon as we have this green line right here, which in this case, June 8th, that's where we're looking to actually get long. So let the trend prove to us that it's switched. Let the trend prove to us that we now actually have some legs underneath this position, and then try and ride that trend out for as long as possible. That's the premise of the setup. So now if we come right back in, the reason why I think we may potentially start to see that is again the rise of COVID, the rise of potentially work from home as we head into 2022. If anything of that sort re-enters the marketplace, I could see Zoom being one of those stocks as a benefactor. So now again, going back to the setup, as of right now, our market pulse is telling us we're very much in a bearish trend. So there's no setup yet, just to be very clear here. So far, we're expecting Zoom to continue trending downwards, at least according to the market pulse. Now, however, if this base holds, we see price action climb up, and we see this market pulse pivot to a green color, very similar to the setup we were looking at inside of Snowflake, then that would be our trend switch. Now, here's an example of that setup actually playing itself out in Snowflake. We broke this down in an earlier video, and that setup I think we discussed when price action was actually somewhere close to this region, where we were looking for the same trend reversal. Instead of trying to preemptively enter, let the market pulse tell us when we actually change to a bullish trend, which happened right here. You'll see we went from a red market pulse line to a green market pulse line. And ever since that price point, right around that 220 mark, Snowflake, has just continued trending bullishly. We're currently at what, 340.63. That trend reversal was about your picture perfect entry point, trying to catch and ride as much of this trend as possible. So we're looking for something very, very similar to take place inside of Zoom. A similar idea, we've had a bearish trend. We're looking at that bearish trend to potentially reverse. We have some other macro catalysts at play. We have previous support resistance levels. We have a lot of things working in our favor, but we need the trade to actually prove itself out. So that's a setup that I'm looking at inside of Zoom. Hopefully for those of you trying to find setups that you're interested in 2022, or maybe even get the idea of how you can find trend reversals, this is what I would be looking at. Hope this video helps. Take care everyone, good luck trading, and we'll see you in the new year.